Brian Kemp sends in the National Guard. Another child is killed in the Atlanta area. Ghislaine Maxwell is making headlines because she may have tapes that may implicate some people. And ABC finally tells us what we've been saying about the COVID-19 pandemic since the very beginning. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, folks, and welcome to Contemporary. I'm Jay Edgar. We've got a ton to get to today, as always, including a memoriam as well that I didn't mention in the teaser there. But before we get started, head on over to freedomscoop.com. Freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. We have got The Generational Gap, The R-Rated Conservative, Stephen Ignoramus. We have got Wyatt Birkenhoff and the Freckles and Brit Show, and my new show, The Red and Ed Show, as well. So go over there and check us out. It's going to be a great time. We've got some swag over there. You can go and pick up some t-shirts. So go and check us out over there and enjoy some of the back catalogs for some of our great creators over there as well. It's a great time, and we hope to see you over there. So before we get into anything, I do want to take a time and say goodbye to a country music and southern rock legend, and of course I'm talking about Charlie Daniels, who did pass away yesterday, and I didn't find out about it until after I was off the air with Contemporary yesterday. So, from News Channel 5 of Nashville, Charlie Daniels' neighbors say goodbye during procession in Mount Juliet. Dozens, if not hundreds, came out to pay their respects to Charlie Daniels as the best there's ever been turned down Mount Juliet Road for the last time. Daniels lived in Mount Juliet and was a big supporter of the community, with the city's most popular park named in his honor. Those who gathered along the road to wave goodbye said that Charlie Daniels was someone they called a patriot, who died coincidentally just 2 days after Independence Day. Even though he was born out of state, many claimed him the son of Mount Juliet. "We have lived in Mount Juliet for 14 years and it's home," said Jennifer Robeson of Mount Juliet. "My kids grew up going to Charlie Daniels Park. His name is synonymous with Mount Juliet." So, final goodbye to Charlie Daniels. The devil did go down to Georgia looking for a soul to steal, but there was no soul there because the owner of the soul had been transferred to heaven. So, he was too late. So, Godspeed, Charlie Daniels. All right, let's look into the news. So first we're going to look at the stocks here, of course, and it looks like we had a fairly good day on the Dow yesterday. Looks like they jumped up right at the beginning and kind of wavered a little bit, but stayed steady and then closed really, really high. But according to IBD, that's not going to be the case going forward here. So we're going to look into what happened and what's going to happen possibly coming up here from Investors Business Daily. Dow Jones futures fall after Amazon, Apple, Tesla, Microsoft lead, coronavirus stock market rally, Alibaba, Dexcom, Chipotle break out. From Ed Carson, Dow Jones futures fell early Tuesday along with S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures, but paired losses somewhat. Livongo Health rallied on revenue guidance, while Regeneron Pharmaceuticals and Novavax popped out on coronavirus treatment news. The coronavirus stock market rally had a powerful session Monday, with growth giants such as Apple, Amazon, Tesla, Alibaba, Microsoft, Chipotle leading. Chipotle, that's not one that I would ever expect to be up there every day, but it just seems to be up there all the time. Yes, Candace, this is really live, but I don't usually interact with the chat during the morning. But these guys can't really tell you that because the Periscope bot doesn't work in, the Restream bot doesn't work in Periscope. But yeah, we're going live. All right, let's keep going here. Alibaba stock and Chipotle stock broke out, while Dexcom stock also cleared a buy point. Apple stock, Microsoft stock jumped to record highs. Amazon stock topped 3,000 for the first time. Facebook, Netflix, and Google parent Alphabet all rose at least 2% separately. Tesla stock surged 14%, its biggest gain in nearly 3 months, as many electric vehicle plays continue to skyrocket. IBD leaderboard added Baba stock on Monday, joining Apple stock, Tesla stock, Amazon stock, Dexcom stock, Microsoft stock, and CMG stock. Chipotle stock, Amazon stock, and Dexcom stock are all on Swing Trader. Microsoft and Alibaba stock are IBD long-term leaders. Google stock is on long-term leaders watch list. In other news, the U.S. is mulling back, banning TikTok and other Chinese social media apps. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Monday night TikTok said it would pull out of Hong Kong, citing recent events there. Facebook, Google, and Twitter said Monday they will no longer provide user data to law enforcement in Hong Kong, following China's national security law imposing a more direct control on the enclave. Also, overnight, Sunrun will buy fellow residential solar installer Vivint Solar for $3.2 billion, including debt. Shares of both companies spiked early Tuesday. Early Tuesday, Livongo Health said it sees quarter two revenue of $86 million to $87 million versus its old guidance of $73 million to $75 million. The virtual health leader jumped 10% in the pre-market. Dow Jones futures sank 0.7% below fair value, but off their worst levels. S&P 500 futures fell 0.6%. NASDAQ 100 futures retreated 0.25%. Remember, overnight action in Dow Jones futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. So, yeah, it looks like we will be kind of off and on. I think we're going to rally today. I really do. I think. So, that's what it's going to be. But let's move on and see what CNN has to say on the back end of this. NASDAQ hits new record high as global stocks rally. From Anekin Tape. The U.S. stock market rallied off the start of the week, propelling the NASDAQ composite to an all-time closing high. Investors seemed to take risks after the long Independence Day weekend in the United States. The tech-heavy NASDAQ closed up 2.2%, its best one-day gain since mid-May, and topping its previous record high from last week. Tech stocks were among the best performers on Monday, with Amazon climbing above $3,000 a share for the first time ever. The Dow finished 1.8% or 460 points higher, while the S&P 500, the broadcast measure of the Wall Street, climbed 1.6% for the S&P. It was the longest winning streak since December at 5 days in a row. Stock gains around the world helped boost the U.S. market sentiment Monday. Asian markets rallied sharply, with Shanghai Composite recording its best day in 5 years, closing up 5.7%. Loosened financial regulations and hopes for further government support, markets could ring in a new bull market in China. Chinese state media over the weekend said investors were rushing into Chinese stocks. European stocks also finished sharply higher. U.S. stocks rode that wave, trading sharply higher throughout the whole Monday session. So there's some external forces and some internal forces, but yeah, it looks like we are looking at some good news on the markets. And of course, the markets don't reflect the economy directly, but they are a good benchmark to see where the economy could go if we do everything right, along with riding onto the stock market wave. So I'm seeing a lot of good news here today, and this is a good thing. All right, let's keep going here now. Moving on into some news. First off, we will say thank you to Brian Kemp. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp to deploy 1,000 National Guard troops to Atlanta after Democrat Mayor Keisha Bottoms fails to stop violence. From Ryan Saavedra. Georgia Republican Governor Brian Kemp on Monday authorized up to 1,000 National Guard troops to be deployed to Atlanta after the city's mayor, Democrat Keisha Lance Bottoms, failed to stop the escalating violence in her city. Peaceful protests were hijacked by criminals in this dangerous, destructive agenda. Now, innocent Georgians are being targeted, shot, and left for dead, Kemp said in a statement. This lawlessness must be stopped an order restored to our city. I have declared a state of emergency and called up the Georgia Guard because the safety of our citizens comes first. This measure will allow troops to protect state property and dispatch state law enforcement officers to patrol our streets. Enough with the tough talk, we must protect the lives and livelihoods of all Georgians. Kemp's statement said the decision came after weeks of dramatically increased violent crimes and property destruction in the city of Atlanta, including the 4th of July weekend where over 30 Georgians wounded by gunfire, including 5 confirmed dead. The Georgia Guard will provide support at state buildings, including the Georgia State Capitol, Georgia Department of Public Safety headquarters, and Governor's Mansion, the statement said. I would probably send a couple more of them down onto the ground to back up the police if it was me, but this will allow state law enforcement personnel to increase patrols on roadways and throughout communities, especially those in the city of Atlanta. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution noted that the order came after Kemp said he would take action if Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms failed to do so, a move that highlighted the complicated and increasingly tense relationship between two of the state's most prominent politicians. Kemp tweeted late on Sunday night, "This recent trend of lawlessness is outrageous and unacceptable. Georgians, including those in uniform, need to be protected from crime and violence. While we stand ready to assist local leaders in restoring peace and maintaining order, we won't hesitate to take action without them." I bet you that Stacey Abrams finally concedes the governorship to Brian Kemp. I bet you this is going to be the point where she says, "Nope, I'm not the rightful governor anymore. Let him take the responsibility for this." So this will be a major shift in Georgia politics here. But, I mean, this is also something we need to do. I mean, it looks to me like they are trying to pull off another Chaz Chop or whatever you want to call it in the Wendy's area. And Keisha Lance Bottoms was having it for a while, but it doesn't look like she's having it anymore. But I think this got out of her hand at one point. So that's what we're seeing here out of Georgia. So we will see if this goes on, but we are looking at the possibility of other autonomous zones popping up around the country, so we'll be watching that as well. But yes, this is something that I think we needed to do this a couple weeks ago, but this is something that definitely needs to be looked at now. And of course, the Republican governor is going to be the one that takes the responsibility for it, and this is going to smear him in the news for the time to come. All right, let's keep going on here. From Fox News, Atlanta mayor faces criticism over early handling of the protest site, from Edmund DeMarsh. Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, who has been seen as a viable vice presidential pick for Joe Biden, will likely have to respond to critics over her handling of reports of an armed protesters occupying the area around a Wendy's restaurant where a black man was fatally shot by a white police officer last month. A Fox News crew last month observed a group of armed men at the location where Rayshard Brooks was fatally shot in June, and there's been new scrutiny over the city's handling of the unrest after the murder of the 8-year-old Sequoia Turner, who was shot and killed near the location on the 4th of July. Bottoms made headlines for her tough stance after the shooting. She said at a press conference, "Enough is enough." We have talked about this movement and what's happening across America, and this moment in time when we have the ears and the interests of the people across the country and across this globe who are saying they want to see a change. But the difference in this moment in time with the civil rights movement, and there was defined common enemy, she said. We're fighting the enemy within when we're shooting each other up on the streets. Her comments came in the wake of Turner's murder. "You can't blame this on police officer," the mayor said. "You can't say this about criminal justice reform. This is about some people carrying some weapons who shot up a car with an 8-year-old baby in the car for what?" The killing attracted national attention and prompted the state's governor, Brian Kemp, to declare a state of emergency, authorizing the activation of up to 1,000 National Guard troops after a bloody weekend that left 5 dead, including the 8-year-old Turner. But Turner's killing prompted questions about how the city allowed the unrest to carry on for weeks despite the reports of armed protesters and groups that blocked a city street. I can tell you. This is not something that Keisha Lance Bottoms hoped to take care of. This is, in fact, something in which she was hoping to trap the president into. She was trying to get the president to come down and bring the hammer down so they can come out and say that, yes, the president is going to be the one. He's going to be the one that says he's going to bring the hammer down. He's going to be the dictator we always said he was going to be. It's going to be him. He's going to be the one that tears it up, destroys freedom, all kinds of other stuff they're going to make up about him. So yes, that's what it's going to be out of this. So we're going to keep moving on off of this, but yeah, I know what this was supposed to be. It was the same thing the Chaz was supposed to be. All right, let's keep going here. From the New York Times, archived, of course. And if you're not using archive for anything, it's a good way to get around the New York Times is a ad block. Not only the ad block, but their subscription thing as well, because you can just archive it and it'll go right around that. Amy Cooper faces charges after calling police on Black Birdwatcher. Miss Cooper was captured on video calling the police after Christian Cooper asked her to keep her dog on a leash in Central Park. From Jan Ransom, A white woman who called the police and falsely accused a black man of threatening her life after she asked her to put her dog on a leash will face misdemeanor charges, the Manhattan District Attorney announced on Monday. Amy Cooper, the woman in Central Park encounter, which was recorded on video and touched off intense discussions about the history of black people being falsely reported to the police, will be charged with filing a false report, a misdemeanor punishable by up to a year in jail. 1 second, I'm going to hit something with the live chat here. Alright, that's going to be taken care of. Today, our office initiated a prosecution of Amy Cooper for falsely reporting an incident on the third degree, said Cyrus R. Vance, the Manhattan District Attorney. We are strongly committed to holding perpetrators of this conduct accountable. This is a developing story. Check back for updates. So, yeah, they're going to go after the white woman who went after the black guy, and nobody was in the right for this. This was definitely, there was nobody in the right for this. Two people were being stupid with each other, and now they're going to prosecute the one for the color of her skin. But there were other things that went along with this as well, and yeah, this should have never got the national attention that it got. But of course, before we saw George Floyd, we were also looking at this as being the next thing that was going to set off the race war. And then they found a convenient photo and video of, "I can't breathe." So, there's going to be an update on this, and we'll probably see another update as we go along. I'll be paying attention to this, and hopefully I don't have to pull from the New York Times. Alright, let's keep going. So, from the Daily Wire again, 11-year-old black child shot and killed after anti-violence cookout. Grandfather, we need more police. From Amanda Prestigiacomo. Over the weekend, an 11-year-old child was shot and killed by stray gunfire after leaving an anti-violence cookout, put on by his mother, Crystal McNeil, a so-called violence interrupter in D.C., where she works to stop potential violence by speaking to the area's most hardened criminals. The criminals connected to the young Devon's death remain at large, though a report from the Washington Post published on Sunday suggests gang activity might have been related to the shooting. Devon, of course, not being a target, but an innocent bystander. As the cookout ended, Devon left to retrieve a phone charger and earbuds. At the same time, police said about 5 men started shooting at one another on a nearby street to the cookout. Devon, a football standout who dreamed of going pro, was struck in the head by a stray bullet and killed. The child's paternal grandfather, 50-year-old John Ayala, said Devon was supposed to be with him over the weekend on a vacation in Florida, though the plans fell through due to coronavirus-related issues. Ayala praised Devon's mother as the person who helped the community, tragically noting she was putting on a community cookout to stop the violence and got her own son killed. Yeah, there's a huge irony in that. Noting the demonstrations against racism and police brutality that have raged in the district and elsewhere since the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Ayala said he agrees with some protesters who say cities should turn into social workers and other civilians rather than police to deal with poverty, homelessness, and other social problems, the Washington Post reported. Ayala emphasized, however, we need more police to put a dent in this crime. The circumstances surrounding the shooting remain unclear, the Washington Post noted, but the police said Devon was shot around 9:20 p.m. in the 1400 block of Cedar Street, southeast in Anacostia, just as the annual fireworks display burst over the mall 4 miles away. We just had a real genuine kid who wanted to get out of the neighborhood. That's all he said is, I'm going to make it. Kevin McGill, Devon's football coach, said of the child. These kids' lives are being robbed over nothing. So, yeah, another tragedy struck just because people are out there fighting, and it's terrible to see. And we don't know if this was something that would have been business as usual in D.C., because I've heard some things about the violence in D.C. under normal circumstances, or if this has something to do with everything else we've been seeing around the country for the last few weeks. But, I mean, this is something that we need to keep an eye on, and something that we do need to fix. But on the other side of it, I don't quite understand what exactly it is that these people think that they're going to do if they have social workers taking care of the police. I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on with this, what they believe is going to happen, or anything else that comes out of this. But sometimes something is going to escalate, and it's going to be very convenient for the person who's trying to de-escalate it to have a backup plan in case the talk doesn't work. Yes, the police should not be shooting willy-nilly, but there's a balance here. It's not just going straight to social work and eliminating the police, but it's also not militarizing the police. There is a balance somewhere. All right, let's keep going here. I got 2 in a row from Fox, it looks like. So, video playing. Eagles' Desean Jackson accused of anti-Semitism after posting quotes attributed to Hitler praising Farrakhan. From Ryan Gatos. Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Desean Jackson, who was on one of my fantasy teams at one point, he's been around for a little bit, was accused of anti-Semitism on Monday for promoting quotes attributed to Adolf Hitler on his social media. Jackson highlighted 3 paragraphs from a book that attributed the quotes to Hitler. He posted a picture of the highlighted passages on his Instagram. The passage reads, Hitler said because the white Jews know that the Negroes are the real children of Israel, and to keep America secret to the Jews, we'll blackmail America. That's going to be the one that gets cut and goes over to Right Wing Watch. They will extort America. Their plan to world domination won't work if the Negroes know who they are. The white citizens of America will be terrified to know that all this time they've been mistreating and discriminating and lynching children of Israel. Excuse me. The Philly Voice noted that the passage appears to be from the book Jerusalem, which attributed the quote to the Nazis, World War II. Jackson then posted 2 pictures of noted anti-Semitic preacher Louis Farrakhan. In one caption, Jackson wrote, "This man powerful. I hope everyone got a chance to watch this. Don't be blinded. Know what's going on." He also posted a quote attributed to Farrakhan, which reads, "There must be 100% change. There's a burden the earth is carrying that must be relieved from. The earth is burdened by the wicked living on the planet that was made for the righteous." Probably another thing that's going to get clipped and go over to Right Wing Watch. Jackson also posted a video on his Instagram stories relating to Bill and Melinda Gates. Talking about vaccines, the caption on the video read, "Farrakhan warns against vaccine." His social media posts were dismissed across social media Tuesday morning. As we can see here, Jackson defended himself against the claims of anti-Semitism, saying, "Anyone who feels I have hate towards the Jewish community took my post the wrong way. I have no hatred in my heart towards no one. Equality, equality." Yeah, that's exactly what I'm taking out of this quote here. That's exactly what I'm getting out of this. You have no hatred towards the children of Israel. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting out of this. You're right. Absolutely. All right. So that's what we have on that there. And everybody's under the microscope right now because it's an election year and because we've got all the rest of the stuff going on. So I'd be watching what you post there at this point. I watch what I post because I know that every microscope is out at this point and they're looking for an excuse to dump people off of Twitter at this point. So, yeah, absolutely. No word as to whether or not he's going to face any sort of backlash from the team that he's working with, Philadelphia Eagles, but we'll see what happens with this. All right, shifting topics here, but staying on the same news site. Prison officials want to ensure Ghislaine Maxwell doesn't meet the same fate as Jeffrey Epstein. Posted by the New York Post. Oh, cool. I'll be talking about the New York Post a little bit too. Accused Jeffrey Epstein madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, was quietly transferred on Monday from New Hampshire to a Brooklyn federal prison in New York City where she'll await trial pending bail hearing. Maxwell, who was arrested on a $1 million rural mansion last week, was moved by U.S. Marshals to the Metropolitan Detention Center in Sunset Park on Monday morning, the Bureau of Prisons said in a statement. The former socialite and daughter of British media magnate is awaiting arraignment on 4 counts of sex trafficking minors and 2 counts of perjury for allegedly acting as Epstein's fixer as he sexually abused underage girls. Epstein was arrested for sex trafficking by the same U.S. Attorney's Office last year but committed suicide in his lower Manhattan jail cell before he could face trial. A law enforcement source said Monday that prison officials at MDC in Brooklyn are determined to avoid a similar outcome with Maxwell. They want to make sure she'll stand trial, the source said, adding that the Bureau of Prisons doesn't want another black eye. Maxwell will be guarded by the prison's highest security available, the source said. She'll be shadowed by prison officers every day, every time she leaves her cell, and a surveillance camera will be trained on her cell until it fails and until the guards fall asleep, according to a source. Her arraignment could come as early as Tuesday if she agrees to being arraigned virtually. Judge Allison Nathan wrote in an order on Monday. She'll remain locked up at MDC until the hearing, when a judge will determine if she'll stay behind bars until her trial or be given bail. This is rife. This is rife. I don't like any of this. I don't like any of this at all. Because she's going to, my co-host last night, Elaine, said that this woman is going to go back to her mansion where she's not guarded if she gets out on bail, and that's where she's going to get off, or kill herself as such. But this is just ripe for something to happen. I can't believe this is going to happen. But yeah, there are a couple things going along with this as well, and the woman does seem to be that it seems like she's ready to talk. I don't know if that's because there is the non-prosecution order from Epstein, which he can't exactly fulfill at this point. So there are a lot of steps that are going along with this, but I do kind of want to see what happens and if this is going to be the next disaster that we see, because people are starting to get bored of the BLM protests and nobody cares about COVID. Really don't. I'm going to be talking about it at the end of the show, but nobody really cares about it at this point. Let's keep going here from the New York Post. We'll have to refresh this one, because apparently it unloaded while I wasn't looking at it. Maybe. There it goes. Ghislaine Maxwell has copies of Jeffrey Epstein's sex tapes, ex-friend says, from Yaron Steinbush. Accused Jeffrey Epstein procuress Ghislaine Maxwell. How many titles does this woman have? My God, how many titles? Because I've heard financier, procuress, heiress. She's got so many titles. Accused Jeffrey Epstein procuress Ghislaine Maxwell used her secret stockpile of the late pedophile's sex tapes as an insurance policy to save herself from federal charges, her friend said in a new report. The former socialite, who was arrested in New Hampshire last week, was moved Monday to a Brooklyn lockup to await trial on 4 counts of sex trafficking minors and 2 counts of perjury for allegedly acting as Epstein's fixer. Christopher Mason, a TV host and journalist who has known Maxwell since the 80s, has said she was told that Epstein rigged his multiple homes with cameras and kept surveillance tapes of everyone and everything that went on in them. Mason said she has access to the potentially compromising tapes, and now Maxwell's former pal told the Daily Mail that she will use those recordings as a way to beat the rap. Ghislaine has always been as cunning as they come. She wasn't going to be with Epstein all those years and not have some insurance, the ex-friend told the outlet. The secret stash of sex tapes I believe Ghislaine has squirreled away could end up being her get-out-of-jail card if the authorities are willing to trade. Yeah, she's going to play hardball, and so are her lawyers, so drop the charges and you get the tapes, is I bet you what's going to come out of this. And I don't know if they're going to go for it or not. So, she has copies of everything Epstein had. They could implicate some twisted movers and shakers, the former friend said. If Ghislaine goes down, she's going to take the whole damn lot of them with her. The source continued, not only did Epstein like to capture himself with underage girls on camera, he wanted to make sure he had something to hold over the rich and powerful men who took advantage of his sick largesse. I'll bet anything that once it comes out that Ghislaine has those tapes, these men will be quaking in their Italian leather boots, the person said. Ghislaine made sure she socked away thumb drives of it all. She knows where all the bodies are buried, and she'll use whatever she has to save her own ass. Maxwell is accused of enticing 3 underage girls to meet Epstein at his various properties in New York, New Mexico, and London. So, yeah, I don't know if she's actually going to get out of this or not, because she's got a lot of stuff on her as well. So, I don't know if they're going to go for the trade or not. And plus, keep in mind the powerful people that are also involved with this. I don't know if anybody's going to want to be the person that locks up said person, insert name here, who is very powerful and is wearing Italian leather boots. So there's going to be a big trade-off there, and I would almost think that the U.S. attorneys would sacrifice Maxwell to save some of these celebrities that are out there that are even more powerful than she is. So there's going to be, I don't know. This is going to be an interesting one to watch, and that is given the fact that we assume Ghislaine Maxwell survives to trial, which I don't know is going to happen. All right, I got one more on here. Jeffrey Epstein's confidant, Ghislaine Maxwell, transferred to New York prison after arrest. I think this is going to be almost the same as what we read before from Steven Saras and Marta Danise. Ghislaine Maxwell, the confidant and ex-girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein, was transferred to a New York federal prison on Monday following her arrest in New Hampshire last week. Yes, she is in BOP custody at MDC Brooklyn. We declined to comment further, the Federal Bureau of Prisons told Fox News, which means she is in the same prison that Epstein didn't kill himself in. Maxwell, the daughter of late British media magnate Robert Maxwell, has been indicted on multiple charges in connection to an alleged sex trafficking operation that brought girls, some as young as 14, to Epstein's Manhattan home. Prosecutors allege that Maxwell, between 1994 and 1997, assisted, facilitated, and contributed to Jeffrey Epstein's abuse of minor girls, among other things, helping Epstein to recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse victims known to Maxwell and Epstein to be under the age of 18. Yeah, this is a lot of the same thing here, but I just wanted to make sure it was pointed out that she was in the MDC in Brooklyn, the same facility. All right, let's keep going here. We just got a few more, and then we'll do the Twitter trending for the day and see what happens over there. So, Supreme Court says states can punish Electoral College voters. From Ariane DeVogue and Chandelize Duster over at CNN. The Supreme Court said Monday that states can punish members of the Electoral College who break the pledge to vote the state's popular vote winner in presidential elections. The case comes as the election season is heating up, putting the Electoral College once again front and center in an increasingly polarized and volatile political atmosphere. In 2016, 10 of the 538 presidential electors went rogue, attempting to vote for someone other than their pledged candidate. In all, 32 states and the District of Columbia have laws that are meant to discourage faithless electors, but until 2016, no state had ever actually punished or removed an elector because of his or her vote. The vote count was 9-0. Today, we consider whether a state may also penalize an elector for breaking his pledge and voting for someone other than the presidential candidate who won his state's popular vote. We hold that a state may do so, Justice Elena Kagan wrote. The Constitution's text and the national history, both supporting allowing a state to enforce an elector's pledge to support his party's nominee and the state voter's choice for president, she added. The ruling was not surprising, said Steve Vladeck, CNN Supreme Court analyst and professor at the University of Texas School of Law. Given the potential implications of holding that electors could vote for anyone they choose, it's not surprising that the justices held the states can prevent them from doing so, Vladeck said. Well, yeah, I mean, why would you let an unelected official come out and make your choice for you, no matter what your choice is? It does take away from everything that we're looking at as far as the Electoral College and the democratic process that the left loves so much. I mean, imagine if this was going the other way and a faithless elector wanted to vote for a Republican. The Democrat Party would have him hanged without a trial. They wouldn't even try him. They would just go out there in the dead of night and lynch his ass up if he did that. But because it's going the other way now that we're looking at this again, and this is especially coming on the heels of the Interstate Compact, which has kind of fallen off the news for a while, but it does seem that there are a lot of states that are involved in this. So there are a couple things that are at play here. But this also goes along with what we saw in 2016 when all of the Hollywood celebrities came out and begged the electors not to vote for Trump no matter what their states did. So there are a lot of moving parts to this, but go down the court because this could come up in this coming election. This absolutely could. This could actually be a situation where we can see a faithless elector that won't vote the way that his state voted. This coming election is going to be wild, and we're going to see a lot of things defined that we didn't know we needed to have defined, but a lot of it's going to happen. All right. few more here from NPR, which I'm not going to sit and read it in the NPR voice. I'm going to read it in my normal voice because listening to an article like this would drive you nuts, I would assume. Alright, let's keep going here. ICE, foreign students must leave the U.S. if their colleges go online only this fall, from Rachel Treisman. Foreign students attending U.S. colleges that will operate online entirely this fall semester cannot remain in the country to do so, according to new regulations released Monday by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. I am against this, but I'll tell you why in just a bit. As college students across the United States and around the world contemplate what their upcoming semester might look like, the federal guidance limits options for international students and leaves them with an uncomfortable choice: attend in-person classes during a pandemic or take them online from another country. And for students who enrolled in schools that have already announced plans to operate fully online, there is no choice. Under the new rules, the State Department will not issue them visas, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection will not allow them to enter this country. Active students currently in the United States enrolled in such programs must depart the country or take other measures, such as transferring to a school with in-person instruction to remain in lawful status. Read a release from ICE's Student and Exchange Visitor Program. If not, they may face immigration consequences, including but not limited to the initiation of removal proceedings. The agency said students already in the country faced a fully online course if study may take alternative measures to maintain the non-immigrant status, such as a reduced course load or appropriate medical leave. The rule applies to holders of F1 and M1 non-immigrant visas, which allow non-immigrant students to pursue academic and vocational coursework, respectively. More than 1 million of the country's higher education students come from overseas, according to the nonprofit Institute of International Education. Now, I understand what's going on here, and I understand the point that they're making off of this. I understand ICE's point to this, but we have students that are going out right now that are going to school, going in person, that may need tutoring, help, or other facilitation in order to get through the course load that they're not going to be able to get in their home countries. Point number 2, and this is the important point, we do want people to immigrate here legally to some point, to some degree. I know there are other people on the further right, and even some people out into the center with me, that don't want to have the immigration right now, which is all on them. But if people are going to immigrate, we want them to do it right. We absolutely want them to do it right. So, and these people, if they're working from their home countries, are not going to have access to the job pool that they would have over here as well once they graduate, because there are going to be recruiters that are going to be looking for people out of this. And yes, they'll have to go through other situations along with immigration to try and get them into the country. I don't know what all the visas are, but yeah, they'll have to get an entirely new visa, which would probably be fast-tracked if they were already here in the country, to get them over here and start working for these companies. So this is a net negative for the students who are coming over here to seek a higher education and forsaking their free education in the case of many of the countries they're coming from, because they get a free taxpayer education up until grade 20, grade 25, or the rest of their lives, depending on how long they need to be indoctrinated for. Or they can come over here and take an American university and, in spite of all the Marxism that goes along with it, still get a better education. So there are a couple things at play here. Alright. Couple of general interest stories. Number 1, Michael Cohen allegedly caught dining out while serving home sentence. DOJ Bureau of Prisons silent, from Ryan Saavedra over at the Daily Wire. Disbarred attorney and convicted felon Michael Cohen was allegedly spotted in a restaurant in New York City last Thursday while serving his prison sentence at home because of the coronavirus pandemic. The New York Post published photographs that it obtained of Cohen eating at Le Bilboquet, sorry, I don't speak French, a French restaurant near his Park Avenue apartment, with his wife and another couple. Multiple sources told the Post that Cohen has also eaten at another expensive restaurant in the area while serving his home sentence. The BOP form the furlough applications requires that an inmate provide a furlough address and acknowledge by signature that I'm authorized to be only in the area of destination shown above or at ordinary stopovers or points on direct route to or from that destination, the Post reported. Conditions listed on the form also include provision that says, I will not leave the area of my furlough without permission, with exception of traveling to the furlough destination and returning to the institution. Former Federal Bureau of Prisons official Cameron Lindsay, who now works as a consultant or an expert witness, told the Post that Cohen eating out at a restaurant while serving at a home sentence did not seem normal. I find it unusual that he's out to dinner, Lindsay said. I don't know that I ever remember furloughs being approved for social reasons. A lawyer that spoke to the Post said that convicted felon eating out at a fancy restaurant while serving a home sentence was something that I've never seen before, and that it was common sense that Cohen shouldn't be dining at a restaurant. Yeah. Ugh. His furlough should be revisited by the warden and should be revoked, the lawyer said. Cohen's lawyer, Jeffrey K. Levine, claimed that his client did nothing wrong after having previously told the New York Times he's glad to be home in a safer and healthier environment. It's still prison until his sentence is over. The BOP did not immediately respond to a request for comment from the Daily Wire, and the Department of Justice said that it was declining to comment on the matter. Oh, they got caught. They got caught is what exactly happened here. So, yeah, no, Cohen does not need to be out at a restaurant here. This is not a vacation. This is prison. He did the wrong. Now he needs to face the time. And I say he should still be in prison, but I'd never agreed with letting prisoners out for COVID anyway. But that's what we have there. All right. From Newsweek. Tucker Carlson calls Senator Tammy Duckworth, wounded Iraq vet, unimpressive. From James Walker. Tucker Carlson called the Democratic senator and Iraq war veteran Tammy Duckworth a deeply silly and unimpressive person in an attack on her party's leadership Monday night. The Fox News host lashed out at the U.S. Senator of Illinois as she entered the spotlight as a possible candidate for Joe Biden's running mate in November's presidential election. He also launched a screed against the Democratic Party leaders, arguing they hated America and thus would be unfit to take charge of this country. At the end of his opening monologue, Carlson said, "You're not supposed to criticize Tammy Duckworth in any way because she served in the military. Most people just ignore her. But when Duckworth does speak in public, you're reminded what a deeply silly and unimpressive person she is." I can't stand this guy. I really can't. After playing a clip of the Illinois senator calling a national dialogue on the removal of monuments, Carlson said, "They're not looking at any kind of colloquy. What they want is a soliloquy. We speak, you shut up and listen." Responding to Carlson's monologue on social media, Senator Duckworth said, "Does Tucker Carlson want to walk a mile in my legs and tell me whether or not I love America?" The senator lost both legs while serving in the U.S. Army in Iraq. According to an interview with Stars and Stripes, her helicopter was struck by an RPG as she returned from a mission in November of 2004. Hitting out at the wider Democratic Party leadership last night, Carlson said, "What's long been out of bounds is to question a person's patriotism. It's a very strong charge, and we try not ever to make it. But in the face of all this, the conclusion can't be avoided. These people actually hate America." And I see this. I see Carlson's point. I really do. But on the other side of it, I see their point too. I see a lot of people's points in this. But I also can't stand Tammy Duckworth myself. And yeah, to be possibly worse than Joe Walsh in that district is impressive. The fact that she can do that. And yes, she has been making the rounds these past couple weeks on COVID and on the BLM protests because she's in the running to be Joe Biden's running mate. So she has to be as woke as humanly possible. Plus, she's going to have those veteran points coming forward. So I don't know what's going to happen with Tammy Duckworth. I don't know if she's going to be. I don't think she's going to be the one that's picked for Biden's running mate. I think that the article we read last night is correct, and I think that they're going to throw Kamala at it, but Duckworth is in the running, so she's got to be propped up by the media and propped up and give her speeches and everything else. So, and Tucker is right to call her out. Your service does not shield you from criticism, especially when you do something stupid. All right, last one here, and then we'll read the Twitter trending. From ABC News, COVID-19 impact could include 20 more firearm suicides per day this year, analysis shows. From Dr. Alexis E. Carrington. COVID-19 could bring a 20 to 30% increase in firearm suicides this year, a new study has found. The uncertainty brought on by the pandemic has been impacting people's mental health and increasing feelings of anxiety and depression. The pandemic has also led to an increase in gun purchases, with an estimated 1.9 million additional guns sold during March and April 2020, compared to the same time last year. Having access to a firearm in the home triples the risk of death by suicide. Now, a new study finds that the economic downturn caused by COVID-19 could cause about 20 more lives lost per day by suicide this year alone. The study comes from a research arm of the Everytown for Gun Safety, a nonprofit and totally partisan organization which advocates for gun control. Research at Everytown looked back at prior cases that led to massive unemployment, including the Great Depression of the 1930s and the Great Recession that ended in 2010. The Great Recession, for example, led to an estimated 4,750 additional deaths by suicide, though not all specifically by firearms. Based on Everytown's research of the impacts of unemployment on suicide from the past recessions, the researchers estimate that this economic downturn could lead to a 20 to 30% increase in the number of lives lost to suicide in the United States in 2020, an additional 5,000 to 7,000 lives. Which, I hate to tell you, is what we've been telling you since the beginning of the lockdowns. Everybody that I know of, that I watch in independent media, and all the people that I don't watch in mainstream media have all been saying the same thing, especially in the independent media. We have to weigh what we're going to see from economic downturn against what we're going to see saving a few lives from COVID-19. And I don't buy this 130,000 people number. Nor do at this point I buy anything that's going on with the number of cases that they're pointing out. They're talking about presumed cases at this point. But we can see the fact that once you lock people in their homes and take away their livelihoods, they get depressed. And this is what people want to put on you permanently, forever. That you live off the government teat and you work only as hard as you want to in the job that they tell you to. You don't make your own livelihood. You make the livelihood that the government tells you that you're going to make. There's so much going on with this, but it's good to see Everytown coming out, even though it's a big part of their gun control agenda, coming out and actually saying that, yes, this is going to happen and people are going to be affected if we take away their livelihood and lock them in their home for months and months and months on end. So, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've been telling you this for months. So, congratulations for finally listening. All right, that's the last thing I have for the news today, but the last thing we do on a Tuesday is read the Twitter trend. So let's head over to Twitter and we'll see my newest follower here. And let's go over to the Twitter trending tab. So let's hit up here and show more on trending. So we've got our regular Tuesday thoughts, but I don't want to go into those because a lot of that is going to be just generic trending that always happens on Tuesday. But number 2 trending today, Blackout Day 2020, which I've already seen going around on Instagram, and what they're trying to do is trying to dismantle institutional racism and capitalism at the same time by stopping spending money for a day. As soon as I'm off of this, and as soon as my breakfast is down, I'm heading over to the store to go spend some money, because fuck Blackout Day, this is capitalism, and I like spending money. I have no reason to protest anybody, so I'm not going to stop spending money just because you tell me to. And if you tell me to do something, that's going to make me want to do it, or tell me not to do something, it's going to make me want to do it even more. All right. Number 4, Twitter trending, student ban. This is the article that we read just a bit ago, talking about the fact that students are not going to be allowed to stay in the country per ICE, which I disagree with entirely, if their school goes to a full online. So we already read a bit about that, and we already heard my commentary on that. Desean Jackson, we read about him earlier. That's going to be the number 3 trending, because he just couldn't keep his social media mouth shut, or his regular mouth shut, Don Lemon. I don't know what this one is, so let's see what this is. Don Lemon started talking over Terry Crews real quick once it became clear that Crews was going to mention BLM's real agenda. Oh, that's interesting. We'll bookmark that for later, because I kind of want to see this video, but I'll take a look at it off air. Ian Miles Chong, Don Lemon says black lives don't matter unless they're being taken by cops, and that you should start your own movement if you want to make black on black violence an issue. Ooh, this is going to be an interesting one, and I bet you we'll be talking about this tomorrow. Yeah, we're putting that on the stack for tomorrow, so tune in tomorrow. We'll talk about this article because I'm suddenly very interested. All right. Tucker Carlson, we know what was going on with there. He's trending with Tammy Duckworth because those two are bickering and fighting with each other. And we'll do a sixth one today because we'll see what's going on with Ringo Starr. Thought about it, and why not? Happy birthday, Ringo. It's a special one. Have a good day. So apparently it's Ringo Starr's birthday. The least known of the Beatles, but actually I kind of like him the best out of all of them. I liked his solo music career. And I enjoyed some of the Ringo-led songs that the Beatles did as well. So happy birthday, Ringo Starr. May you not go as completely woke as all of your other counterparts, and may you have a great day. So that's going to be it for the day. So we'll be back here later on tonight to play some more video games because it is Tuesday, which means it's Fallout New Vegas Tuesday. So we'll see how much further we can get in there in another 3 to 4 hours. So come and check that out on these same channels. Otherwise, we will be back here tomorrow with more contemporary and more news, and we'll hear what Don Lemon had to say as well. So until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.